What has been found in Antarctica which can lead to a world war? Why is there a contention about it even though there is a treaty which makes sure that there can be no exploitation of resources? And how can Antarctica Treaty 1959 can be a savior if it is followed? When we talk about world wars, there's so much brewing tension across the globe that we keep thinking it will happen now and then. And now another reason has been added to the list. Russian research expeditions have found oil reserves, largest ever oil reserves in Antarctica, and this could be another reason for an expected world war in coming times. Hello everyone, welcome to Vajiram and Ravi's Flash News. My name is Shubhangi Singh, and today we are going to understand these untapped oil reserves discovery, but also that how it can be a triggering point for another big conflict at the global scale. We'll also be looking into the Antarctica Treaty of 1959, which actually focuses on peace over power. So let us begin by understanding this recent discovery that we are talking about. So Russian research expedition has discovered almost 500 billion barrels of oil under the Weddell Sea area. So when we talk about Antarctica region, when you see this Palmer land which is encroaching, this area is Weddell Sea, and in this region Russian research expedition has found this oil reserve. To make you understand the quantity of this particular oil reserve, it is the largest oil reserve present today, and it is almost double in quantity with what Saudi Arabia has at the present time. Now, this huge oil reserve is not only a random discovery. It is very significant for two big reasons. First, this scientific expedition has happened in a region which is claimed by United Kingdom, but it is also contested by Argentina and Chile. Now there are three countries who are contesting this particular region. I'm talking about this whole region that we see here. This is contested, and now Russia has already encroached this region. Other than that, it is the quantity of this particular discovery that we are seeing. This is the largest known untapped oil reserve. That means in the time where the non-renewable energy sources are depleting, but their demand is not, this is something that can make the energy race go towards Antarctica. As of now, Antarctica is not allowed to be used for exploitative means. Peaceful purposes, researches, yes. So this can be another point that we have to understand. Furthermore, this particular reserve is located in a zone which is geopolitically contested, environmentally protected, and we also have to understand that it is a very sensitive zone, ecologically sensitive zone. The last point that raises its significance is the fact that what we are terming as scientific research by Russia could directly be an encroachment. So this oil discovery goes just beyond a research expedition. Now we will be trying to understand here that when we are talking about region of discovery, where does it lie? When we talk about region of discovery, as I mentioned, it is in the Weddell Sea. So Weddell Sea was this particular region, right? Now this region is claimed by United Kingdom. However, as I mentioned before, it is also contested by Argentina, and some parts of this region are also contested by Chile. Now, how are these claims present? So, if we talk about, we'll be talking in detail about Antarctica Treaty 1959 as well. But before, I have to explain how these particular places are claimed. So, even before this treaty was enforced or discussed, all these countries made claims over Antarctica, be it because of geographical proximity, be it because of historical presence, be it because of the exploration or the expeditions they have done. The claims were based on all such reasons. When Antarctica Treaty 1959 came in, it decided not to validate these claims or not to reject them. That means the Antarctica Treaty of 1959 decided to freeze these claims and started to work on cooperation and peaceful use of this particular continent. So these claims are still contested. They have not been validated or rejected, and there is no party as such which can do it as of now. So the discovery lies in the British Antarctica territory, and as I've mentioned, it is a contested zone, and this will become more contested in coming time with the discovery of the oil reserves we are talking about. Now, Russia has already entered this situation. Now, let us understand that how this discovery is basically going to be a contention point and can turn it into a global level conflict. So, when we talk about the first reason itself, we have understood that it is coming from a region where we have overlapping claims. We already have UK, Argentina, Chile, and as I mentioned, Russia has also entered this game. When we talk about UK, Argentina and Chile, we understand it can be helped by or it can be seen as a Western bloc, but when Russia is coming in the game, it will also bring its allies such as China. Now, the second point that comes in, it's the Antarctica Treaty that clearly bans any sort of resource exploitation. But we have had multiple incidents where countries keep testing the limit. This Russian expedition is an example of this itself, where we are talking about a scientific research expedition where oil reserves are being looked for, is definitely trying to understand what resources are available, and with the idea of definitely resource exploitation. So countries have been testing the limit. So as soon as any country crosses this particular limit, it could trigger off a regional as well as global scale war. Other than that, we are also going to find other reasons, that the fact the clean energy is gradually taking time to develop and the type of technology required will gradually come in. So at this point of time, the non-renewable energy, the resources are depleting, as I said, but the demand is not. The demand is still intense. So when we find the demand is there and all of a sudden a big source is available, the countries would want that particular source, which will intensify the energy race. And as I mentioned, I gave you an example that Russia and China alignment may come in to influence the resource extraction in this particular region. That will lead to multiple future risks, such as militarization of this particular region. Also, there could be a possibility of cold conflict and gradually a resource-driven war as well. But what can save this situation? Is there any possibility that can actually avoid the risks that we are talking about? The only thing we have at our hand as of now is the Antarctica Treaty of 1959. So let us understand this treaty. This treaty was initially signed by 12 members. As of now, we have 54 members. And the idea was that it should focus on the peaceful use when we talk about the continent of Antarctica. That means it will be specifically used for peaceful purposes only. It was signed in 1959, it was implemented by 1961, and there are simple key objectives, that it will be used for peaceful purposes, it will be used for scientific research, there will be territorial claims, that means there is freezing of territorial claims. This continent cannot be used for any sort of nuclear explosion or radioactive waste, and there will be proper inspection and compliance. Who will do that? The observer nations will ensure that the compliance with treaty is happening, and it also provides dispute resolution through peaceful negotiation. So the idea of treaty was very simple, that Antarctica is an environmentally, ecologically fragile zone as well as geopolitically fragile as well. So we don't want to make it a power race, we want to focus on the peaceful usage, peaceful understanding, expedition, research, etc. Now this treaty is already in place. But the actual question is, the fact, can it help in avoiding the conflict that we are talking about. So another key fact that you need to understand here in the context of understanding that if it can help in the avoiding, the fact that the mining ban, which is through 1991 Madrid Protocol, it is effective till 2048. After which it would need to be renegotiated or revoked. So if this ban is respected through a proper protocol, it exists, if it is respected, so we are looking at comparatively safer times till at least 2048. But after that, when renegotiations will take place, it might take a different term. Other than that, the Antarctica Treaty also includes multiple conservation agreements, such as 1972 we had conservation of seals, then in 1980s we have conservation of marine living sources, and 1991 we also have environmental protection protocol. So if any sort of economical exploitation takes place, whichever country decides to do it, they would have to understand that they are party to whole of this system. And if they go against it, if they are not respecting the system, they would be standing against a global order. So any country who decides to enter this place, they would have to really weigh pros and cons, not just in regional terms, but in global terms. But to answer your question in very simple and direct manner, can this treaty help? This treaty can only help if the terms of this treaty are properly reinforced and they are respected. If they are not respected, there are multiple members, they do not come together for the respect and reinforcement, there is nothing then that can control the growing conflict. But at the same time, we have to understand that the growing violation as well as the enforcement mechanism remains point of contention as well as concern. So the idea is, please avoid violation, please avoid testing limits and stay together, because if anybody, one person also revokes it, enters in terms of resource exploitation, it will open the floodgates for the global war that we are expecting. Let us talk about India's presence in this whole Antarctica situation and how India is going to deal with it. So when we talk about India, India has been member of Antarctica Treaty since 1983 itself, and as of now it operates, it operates 2 research stations. One of them has already been decommissioned. So we have 2 research stations, Dakshin Gangotri, it has already been decommissioned. The rest is Maitri and Bharti. It focuses on peaceful and science-led governance of Antarctica, and this represents that India, yes, is part of the consensus that focuses on the peaceful use of this particular continent itself. But I will leave you with a question here, that what do you think that India should do in coming times, that if it actually comes to a conflict issue, that India is better placed? That was all for now. Thank you so much.